Welcome back to our ongoing mixing series where we're mixing a song from the very beginning all the way to a finished mix, one step at a time during the mixing phase. And in this video, we're going to dive deeper into doing all of the heavy lifting with our processing tools such as EQ, compression, saturation, reverb, and delay. Hey yo, it's Alex from Metamind Music, and as always with this channel, it's my mission to help you, the artists, produce themselves by developing their mindset, expanding their creativity, and connecting to their music in a deeper way. And let's go ahead and transition back to the DAW. So far we have organized our session, then we went ahead and set up our routing and our effects, and then we got a balance just using volume and panning and ensured that all of our stereo image is mono compatible, which is extremely important. And now we're going to go through every single track and apply processing where needed to enhance the clarity, remove any issues, really bring out some life in this mix. Real quick before we dive in, if you're completely unfamiliar with the processing tools of EQ and compression, I encourage you to watch my series going over both of these tools in depth. I'll link it in the card above before continuing here because I'm not going to be explaining the processors as we go through them. I'm just going to be explaining my thinking as we go through the tracks and start processing them. So there's a few quick tips I want to go over before we start processing our tracks. And to start is that we want to pay special attention to every single track individually, regardless if it needs processing or not. We're going to go through every single track and check out what is going on. A few other quick tips is you want to EQ in mono when you can. You always want to check your mono compatibility after you do any significant moves. You want to mix at low volumes because at low volumes, you're going to be able to listen for longer periods of time while avoiding ear fatigue, which is a real thing. And then eventually your sensitivity towards the mid-range frequencies like 1K to 4K is going to start to deplete over time. All right. And you want to avoid mixing things in solo for too long. Yes, we use solo to really hear the difference of what we're doing with our processors, but we always want to reference our changes and A/B them with the whole mix going on. Because if we make something sound great in solo, it will not necessarily sound the same in the context of the whole mix. Consequently, some things might not sound great in solo, but as soon as you pop everything back in the mix, it sounds great with everything else going on. All right, so I already started to do some processing on these tracks as I finalized this arrangement and finished editing. So I've already started to do some things, but we're still going to go through every single track and A/B what is going on. All right, so to start, I'm just going to play you back where we left off, maybe one of the verses, so you can get an idea of where our balances are, get our ears acclimatized to what's going on, and then we're going to start jumping in. All right, so that's what we got so far, and let's actually go ahead and start going through all of our tracks individually. So I like to start with my bass and drums and start from there, and then we're going to add on other tracks right now. So right now we have two different bass tracks that are playing at different parts of the song. So let's actually start with this bass that's going on in the verse and give this a listen and go through some of the processing that I've already started to do and start to mess around with it as we listen to it and the drums at the same time. All right, so that's what our bass sounds like during the verses. We have this auto pan going on, which I'm using as kind of a side chain pulse vibe without this on. It's just kind of more straight up, but as soon as we throw this on, now there's a pulse going on, and that's kind of playing around with the drums. All right, so this is what we got going on for our bass sound here. We have an EQ, and then we're going into a compressor, and then we're going into a limiter. So for now, I'm going to turn off the limiter and the compressor, and let's just look at this EQ. So what I'm doing here is I'm cutting out everything above 5K or so. So all the frequencies above 5K, we definitely don't need any of those frequencies in this bass sound. I also found a frequency here that I wanted to boost to add some character, somewhere around 700 hertz. And I'm cutting out a little bit of 300 hertz or so. I just felt like that was kind of muddying up. And then we're boosting at about 100 hertz or so to add a little bit of that low end presence. So let's A/B this real quick. So this is without the EQ. Throw it on. So notice how it brings out a lot of the attack as well as that low end. Right, it kind of makes that low end pop a little bit more. It kind of makes the grittiness of the bass sound stick out as well. Next, we kind of got a compressor going on, and this is just to pin it down into place because this bass is the foundational element of our whole track. So we really want the low end that we just added in to be glued into place and not move dynamically too much, because it is the foundation of everything else. So let's A/B this compressor real quick. So this is with it off. On. Notice how it controls that low end. Kind of tucks it into place. And then next we have a limiter just to make sure that we catch any peaks of the sound. Even though it was programmed, sometimes there'll be some notes that have a little bit more low end information. You just want to make sure to capture that and make sure that the low end stays super steady. So let's A/B this. This is with it off. We'll throw it on. So notice we're not getting too much gain reduction, only the peaks. All right, and now let's actually pop in the drums and A/B all of these things together. So I'm just gonna group all of these, and then I'm gonna turn them on and off together, okay, with the drums. So this is with everything off. And let's pop it all on at once. Notice how much more room our kick drum has once we tuck the bass into its place. All right, so I'm happy where that's sitting for now. And let's move ahead to this other bass track, which is happening during the chorus. All right, so for this bass track, we also have something very similar going on. However, we've added kind of some more tone. So this is kind of a bass pedal emulation from Neural DSP, which I love. So let's A/B this. I'll actually turn off all the processing and we'll go through this together. All right, so this is the bass without anything. Let's actually go here and just loop this section. Okay, let's throw on this pedal. So it adds a ton of tone, a ton of grit, which I like, but now the low end is just a little bit out of control. I might actually take out some bass. Next, we have an EQ, which again, we're boosting quite a bit at around 8K to bring out some attack. We are boosting again around 700 hertz, and we're taking out somewhere around 200 and boosting some low end as well. So very much a similar EQ to what was going on the other bass. So let's A/B this. So this is without it. Throw it on. So I hear this frequency, this mud. So I'm going to cut more of this out. So now I'm hearing, I'm going to cut this out. So now I really like where the tone is for the bass, but the low end is totally eclipsing the kick drum. So we could turn down the volume a little bit. Let's try that. Now we can hear the kick a bit. But there's still some masking going on. So what I'm going to do is add some multiband dynamics, which is basically a compressor that compresses every frequency range differently. We're going to focus on the low and the low mid. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to lower the threshold. And then we're going to increase the ratio so we get some compression. So let's go to 1:4. So we're getting about 4 dB of gain reduction. So I'm going to go ahead and increase the makeup gain so that with the compressor on or off, this frequency range is still the same volume. So we're just doing the kind of low mids frequency here. We can also adjust the frequency range. So we actually might want a little bit more. So with this compressor out, you can hear that the low end of the mids is kind of muddy. It's kind of boomy. So I'm going to turn this on and off with our drums and listen to the difference. So this is with it off. Turn it on. Notice how it becomes a lot less muddy. You can hear the kick a lot cleaner. So next we're going to move on to the low end. So I'm actually going to move this up to about 150. And we're going to solo this so we can hear what we're actually affecting in the bass. So now we're just affecting that low end. You can hear how boomy that is, right? There's a ton of low end content. So what we're going to do is make sure to compress that quite heavily because I really want that to be set in place. So again, we're going to make this ratio pretty intense, maybe 1:6 or so. Something like that. And then we're going to lower this threshold and try to get the peaks. So right here, we're getting about 4 dB at the most. So let's make up about 3 dB here and let's A/B this. Okay, so this is without the compressor. And let's turn it on. So that's pretty good, but I'm actually going to lower the threshold a little bit more so we get a little bit more compression just to really pin it in place. Let's take it out. All right, let's bring in the other one. And let's A/B the whole compressor together. So we've kind of tamed the low end a little bit. Let's A/B the compressor with the drums. So this is with it on. With it out. Notice how boomy that is. So I'm happy with where that's sitting so far. So next we have another compressor, and this is again to just pin down that low end, which is still quite boomy, to make sure that the bass is stable in terms of dynamics, because everything else in the track is going to be built off that foundation. So I have another 1176 here, and we're compressing it quite hard. So I'm going to A/B this. So this is with it off. Let's turn it on. And the volume is super different. So I want to make sure to volume match before and after so we can actually hear what the compressor is doing. So now they're about the same level. And again, listen closely for the compressor on and the compressor off so you can hear how that low end gets pinned. So this is with it off. And I'll turn it on. With it off. Right, see how the bass almost gets tucked underneath the kick drum? All the low end frequencies is kind of controlled so we can still get the impact of the kick drum without the low end of the bass taking over. So getting the low end under control is extremely important in your mix to make everything else sound great. So finally, I have a limiter again just to catch any peaks. So sometimes with a bass signal, there'll be parts that are louder and parts that are less loud, and that dynamic in the low end, I just want to make sure to just catch any of those jumps in volume and just bring it down so that it's more even, again, to keep the low end consistent. So let's A/B this. This is with it off. Turn it on. So that's actually getting a ton of gain reduction. So I'm actually going to reduce the threshold. See that peak that came up there right at the beginning? So that's what the limiter is for, is just any of those peaks or just bringing it down. All right, so here's the balance we got with that processing on the bass and our drums so far. Sounds like this. Right, so the impact and the power of the bass is there, but it is controlled enough that it's not getting out of hand. It's not muddy. And we can still hear the kick drum low end stuff. So the processing we've done so far on the bass sounds powerful. It has impact, but it is clear and pinned down. It's controlled. So the low end is not masking everything. It's not gobbling up the whole mix. And we can still hear the kick drum's impact and power. And we haven't even gone to the kick drum yet. And hey, if you're just getting started with music production and feeling completely overwhelmed by the process, or if you've been at this for a while but are having trouble finishing projects, or if you just want to get a glimpse inside my personal workflow, I've created a super easy to follow 7-step framework that helps you go from your very first ideas all the way to a finished mix and master. And it's super handy to have around the studio as a printout. So if you're interested in grabbing that, you can find it in the description box below. And if you got value out of this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you want to stay in tune for the next MetaMind Music transmission as we continue this mix all the way to the finish line, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And that's going to wrap it up for this video. I want to keep them short as we go through all these different sections of the processing. So in the next video, we're going to tackle the drums. So I'll see you in the next one.